Got a suggestion from Wireless Mike here. I am psyched to check it out. The pitch. Marjorie Taylor Greene's terrible, no good, very bad day. Ooh, I can't wait.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Will the gentlelady yield for a question?
No, I will not yield to one of your stupid questions that are always attacking me and attacking President Trump.
So this will be before I even am relieved of my ignorance. Let me speak before I know what's going to happen. This will be a perfect. Marjorie Taylor Greene having an outburst. When this is inevitably fact-checked, turn to whoever you know that supports Marjorie Taylor Greene and ask, why do you support somebody who behaves this way? Why would you vote for any party that will allow this person to be a part of it? Let's see how bad she embarrasses herself.
How about a mediocre
question? No, I don't
question?
want to. I do not want
an excellent question.
No,
a smart question.
No, my time.
An intelligent question.
You have no smart or intelligent questions.
Because of recent developments, MAGA cultist and Republican Congresswoman
So far, this will not sway, but I bet it will soon.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is so triggered and is having such a bad day that she is visibly snapping and exploding on both Democratic colleagues and the press in like 3 different locations. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert buttons before you go. I'd greatly recommend to watch because...
Okay, repetition is good. Please remember that. And I think part of the Republican Party strategy is to make their own constituency so repulsive that it triggers me. It triggers me and people like me to act like Marjorie Taylor Greene. It triggers me and makes me unable to interact with them in any sort of way that would sway. It's all I can do. All I could do not to hawk a loogie in their general direction. But that's a childish way to behave. And it probably helps Republicans. Here I am thinking about it rationally. It probably helps Republicans. Instead, be persistent and sweet and constantly talk about this stuff, because watching Jamie Raskin make a mockery of her just there was something special. If she's really blowing up on the reg, let's use this.
Marjorie Taylor
Do you want such an irrational person in charge of anything?
Greene is having a really bad day. She is visibly triggered, and she's being trolled by her Democratic colleagues, whom she's snapping on, and she's also exploding at the press for all kinds of things. But basically, the 2 primary triggers seem to be, number 1, earlier today, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled unanimously that Donald Trump, her cult leader, is not entitled to absolute presidential immunity, which would make him a god king, allowing him to commit crimes with impunity. She's very upset about that. And she also seems to be upset.
Worth noting, it would have also made Joe Biden a god king. I just want to point out that Joe Biden missed a golden opportunity to say, hey, Jack, I just want to know if the Supreme Court is going to rule that, I don't know what this voice is, if the Supreme Court is going to rule that I can station SEAL Team 6 right outside, not Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, is going to rule that I can station SEAL Team 6 right outside the courthouse so they can shoot that federal judge and I can replace him. I want to know if that's legal or not. If it is, good news, we're going to have a new federal judge soon.
That her impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is in serious jeopardy. Now, at the time of recording, they're debating it on the floor of the House of Representatives, and they will vote on it. And in theory, if House Republicans unite, they do have enough votes to just squeak by and impeach the Homeland Security Secretary. Now, obviously, it will not pass in the Senate. It's dead on arrival, so he will still have his job no matter what the outcome is.
Update, it did not pass. This video came out, I think, hours before the vote. It didn't pass the House.
But it's possible, based on the public and private no's that she's getting from certain House Republicans who say, listen, I don't think there's an impeachable offense here. Her impeachment case is in serious jeopardy, and she's banked quite a bit on it because she's been puffing up her chest and bragging that this is all because of her. So when you combine that with the fact that various conservative legal, constitutional, and national security experts are publicly saying that, hey, this ain't it, Chief. You don't really have a good case here to impeach Secretary Mayorkas. It seems that the stress and the pressure and the bad news are finally getting to Marge. And so in this first clip, which is probably my favorite, she is trolled by Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, and it's just glorious.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Will the gentlelady yield for a question?
No, I will not yield to one of your stupid questions that are always attacking me and attacking President Trump.
How about a mediocre
question? No, I don't want
question?
it. I do not want
An
your
excellent question?
No.
A smart question?
No, my time.
An intelligent question?
You have no smart or intelligent questions.
So she is very, very upset by that. So she is speaking to Jamie Raskin, the ranking member and Democratic congressman of the House Oversight Committee. And obviously, he is infinitely more intelligent than she is, infinitely more learned and educated on political and constitutional affairs. He's an excellent debater. He's an excellent lawyer, constitutional scholar, and he's having clearly a lot of fun trolling her. What about a mediocre question? An excellent question, a really smart question. And she is so upset, so triggered. How dare you insult me? How dare you insult President Trump? Lady, you insult everybody all the time. How many times?
It's true. Just keep bringing up the same words with MAGA folks. And also, I can't stress this enough, with people that call themselves centrists or moderates. If anybody does that, what they mean is I vote for horrible people constantly, and I know they're horrible, and I'm embarrassed by it. Keep bringing that stuff up. Use the same phrases over and over. When you see her say something that just makes you gnash your teeth because it's so hypocritical, just be like, what a hypocrite. Marjorie Taylor Greene? Please. She's an insult comic minus the sense of humor. This is good. I would say keep it going. Basically, every time you get an opportunity to talk to these.
Has she called Democrats, not just one Democrat, not just two Democrats, the Democratic Party, the party of groomers and pedophiles and communists and Marxists? She actively insults 50 to 60% of the country all the time. Donald Trump, her cult leader, routinely insults huge swaths of people and specific targets. They love to dish it out, but she can't handle even a fraction of it, right? Which just goes to prove yet again, and it's simply a fact, there is no greater concentration of cowardice and snowflakery than elected Republicans. They are infinitely worse at all times than elected Democrats. In this next clip, it's a continuation of the first. Representative Garcia, a Democrat, also gets in a bit on the action.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Garcia for 5 minutes.
Thank you. That was a lot. I want to remind the gentle lady that it was her that actually organized a trip to the D.C. jail to hug and high five and sit with the insurrectionists that actually attacked our Capitol. So if we're talking about the safety of D.C. and the Capitol, it's just quite, I think, ironic. This is all facts. This is quite ironic that the insurrectionists that had tried to overthrow our government in the capital city were being coddled. We're actually being coddled by. It's quite a shame that you call them political prisoners or hostages. I think maybe you called them. They actually try to overthrow our government. Let me continue with my time.
She's not recognized.
Thank you. So I think it's quite interesting.
And that's Marjorie Taylor Greene just leaving the room. She's heckling Representative Garcia, then she leaves the room because she just can't handle the heat. Great on him for also backing up Raskin and just needling Marjorie Taylor Greene and not taking her seriously because, of course, she doesn't deserve to be taken seriously. She's complaining about crime, apparently, even though crime rates have declined under President Biden. We're starting to see a pretty tremendous and awesome dip, which is quite frankly underreported by the mainstream media, even not just right-wing media. And he's right to point out the hypocrisy. Like, if you really care about crime in Washington, D.C., perhaps you shouldn't celebrate the criminal insurrectionists which tried to kill the vice president and Congress people for observing the results of a free and fair election. I think it's a great case. So now we have a third setting. or excuse me, the second setting, which is the Florida.
I do want to say, I just hope that everybody who is unfortunate enough to be a co-worker of Marjorie Taylor Greene's does at least one thing every day to make her day worse. You know, if you've got some gunk on your hands and you have a napkin in your pocket, but you happen to be by the door to her office, use the door. Kind of group the trash together is what I'm saying. Or just wipe off your hand on her door. Just make her life harder, because she does not deserve to be outside of a prison cell. She's a stochastic terrorist and generally a horrible human being. If you feel even an inkling of sympathy for her, remember that she made a name for herself by harassing a child, David Hogg, who was the victim of a school shooting, the survivor of that school shooting. She harassed him. She implied that she had a gun on her and chased him around and streamed it. Horrible creature should spend the rest of her days in a prison cell. I'm going to do what I can to make that happen. If I ever get a hold of a piece of information that I think will get her in a prison cell, boy, I'm going to give that to the FBI. I can't wait. I have a feeling this will happen. I have a feeling that when America starts to sober up, we're going to look at most of these and start saying, well, they ought to be in prison too, not just Donald Trump. But until then, everyone there should pitch in, and every day, everyone who works with her should make her day just a little bit worse, so that she's tired, so that she dreads going in there, so that she looks for excuses not to be there, takes more vacation days, pretends to be sick sometimes, is sick sometimes, and could come into work but decides not to. Like, I've got an excuse, I just won't go today. Make her day a little bit worse. And if everybody does it, well, then her day will be worse in a lot of little ways all the time. Perfectly acceptable strategy with this awful wretch of a creature. All right, what's the third thing?
Of the House of Representatives. So Marge shows up to, I guess, make her case for the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas, and then after she sits down, Democratic Congressman Benny Thompson puts her in her place in the best possible way.
They must own the policies of murder and crime of American citizens, or they can admit Secretary Mayorkas has broken federal laws and vote to impeach Secretary Mayorkas.
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Though she sits on the Homeland Security Committee, Representative Margaret Taylor Greene has raised doubts about 9/11 to the false assertion that 9/11 was done by our own government. She said that's all true. She also thinks Jewish space lasers cause wildfires. She fundraises off defunding the FBI. She's a person whose advice Republicans are taking today on this impeachment. I now yield 1 minute.
So great from Benny Thompson. I mean, he's very civil, but he points out the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, has no credibility on this. I mean, she's a conspiracy theorist. She's an anti-Semite. She represents the very worst of this country in the worst possible ways. So he's right to attack her credibility there, which brings us to the third setting. So this is Marjorie Taylor Greene appearing at a press conference where she loses her mind on the press and Democrats, and I think just anybody. Again, over the recent news, it seems that Donald Trump is not entitled to a blank check to commit crimes with impunity. For whatever reason, this person thought, as many Republicans do, unfortunately, that Trump was entitled to do that, and the D.C. appellate court disagreed. And she's very, very upset, and in particular,
Wait, I just want to make it perfectly clear. I'm going to let him finish this out, and then we're going to talk about it on the other side. But I do really want to stress this, because I feel like the logic of it doesn't get brought up enough, and it should be brought up quite often because it's insane. Every immunity they're talking about giving Trump would by default go to Joe Biden right now. Consider that. Consider that whenever she rants about what she's going to rant about. And imagine you're sitting next to somebody who thinks she's anything other than the filth you would throw your shoes out over rather than try to even bother trying to wash off. Anybody that has a higher opinion of her than that, do bring up the lack of judgment here.
Upset about a specific trigger word, which is insurrection.
Democrats and dishonest people in the media every single day accuse President Trump of waging an insurrection and accuse many of us of waging an insurrection, and you're doing nothing but lying and selling the lies of the Democrats, all for campaigns and elections. Shame on every single person that has done that. Shame on you. You need to tell the truth. You have the freedom of press, one of the greatest rights in this entire world. And anyone that puts the word insurrectionist, calls President Trump an insurrectionist, and calls any of us an insurrectionist is a liar, and you do not deserve the power that you possess. Shame on you.
Well, she's not happy. Of course, it's ironic that she talks about the freedom of the press and how important it is, given the fact that her cult leader, Donald Trump, has again repeatedly promised that if he's given a second term, he will use the power of the executive branch and the Justice Department to scrutinize, to investigate, to punish and prosecute media outlets, media networks who he thinks don't like him or who
criticize him. Yeah, great point. I thought she was going to talk about wanting to give Trump, but okay. Yeah, pondering politics. We've shown his stuff before. I'll show it again. Wireless Mike, thank you for the suggestion. He knocks it out of the park just about every time. We had two great suggestions there, and the first one I am now going to be a subscriber of. Just fantastic. I would say this: encourage your representative in the House. We've all got one. Encourage them to make Marjorie Taylor Greene's life harder a little bit, at least, every single day, and a lot of it at every single opportunity. Make her life harder, because she is a horrible person. And until we return law and order to the U.S., or some may, I think, accurately argue, establish it for the first time ever by actually making conservatives subject to the same laws as the rest of us, we have to do what we can, where we can, to wear them down. Also understand that these people are hemorrhaging money. We're going to talk about that in a moment, and then we're going to go over to Sandy's channel. Thank you for the suggestion, Wireless Mike.